Hello YouTube viewers, Dennis here from MarksvilleandMe.com with another wonderful review item for you. Today we're going to be reviewing the Tenswall bicycle computer. This is the box that it comes in. You see, nice compact box. Nice blister pack inside that everything sits in, keeping it nice and safe and secure. Just a note with this item, this is a really great item, and I don't want anybody to think that I don't think it's a good item, because I do. I think it's an awesome item, but I think there's a bit of a learning curve with this device. You have to kind of have some understanding of these devices and how they work, some of the terms that go along with it, and to accurately go through everything that has to do with this particular item. It would take a good half an hour to an hour tutorial to really properly go through that. Maybe if I get the chance, I'll try to put one of those out there. But as for right now, I just want to do a real quick video to let you see this product and try to explain some of the positives and negatives about it. And just that's really it. But this is the actual device. It's a wireless receiving unit. This part is that will receive input from a sensor which will attach to the forks of your bike, and a magnet which attacks to the spokes on your actual bike tire rim. And what that does is it's going to revolve around, and as it's doing it, each time it goes around, according to the settings that you enter into this when you first power it up, will dictate the accurate amount of mileage and stuff like that, and a whole slew of different measurements for calculation purposes, and that's why they're calling it a wireless computer, because I mean it calculates so many different things. I mean you're talking about your current speed, your odometer, distance of a single trip, max speeds, average speeds, the amount of time riding. It's even got a clock that can be set either for 12 hour or 24, depending if how you like to have your clock style. It's got timers, countdowns for distance, calorie levels, fat burn measurements, temperature. So I mean, there's a whole slew of information that you're gonna want to be, utilizing it to really fully utilize this product. Just for basic odometer, measurements, like for how long you're riding, and the amount of time it takes you, and maybe your calorie burnouts. I can see those being really the primary things that these are used for. Also, the clock on it is really nice. I mean, especially if you're sending out with your kids, say, hey, we want you to be home in and around this time. Even if you didn't bring your watch or your iPod or whatever, you got this on your bike. You should be home at a certain amount of time, so it'll help. But real quick, what you're going to want to know primarily is basically everything that's done on the setup. I have not figured out from these instructions, as they are kind of in broken English, as to how to go back into the settings once you once you set your initial calculations at the beginning of powering it on. The only way I was able to alleviate that was to pop the battery back out and put it back in, and it didn't store any of the previous information I entered in there, which I guess was good because then I could enter the correct information in there. But then it's bad because if your battery dies and you got to put a new battery in it, you're going to have to re-enter all your calculations again. Not real time consuming. It's just simple stuff, whether or not you want stuff measured in kilometers or meters. You want your temperature in Fahrenheit or Celsius, just things like that, just little settings. And as well as the settings for your tire diameter. That's primarily where you're going to start. And when you first put your battery in, you're going to need to know on the side of your tire wall there's going to be a number that tells you what size your tire is, and it gives you a chart here up on the top of the instruction manual that has a majority of like the average sizes, and my number, I was lucky, fell into this category, so I didn't have to do the manual measurement, because the manual measurement's a little tedious, but it's pretty simple. You're just going to mark the tire, and then mark the floor where you start, and then you're going to let the tire go around one complete revolution. You're going to measure the distance, and that'll give you that number, and it'll coincide with this chart here. It'll have one of those numbers on there, and you'll know that that's the size diameter of your tire. One thing to note, when you first get it, you're going to have these little paper things in protecting the contact from your battery, so that the battery's not coming to you dead. So you're just going to want to put it in so that it's the flat side up, and it is a standard CR, what is that, 2032? Yeah, 2032 battery. And just push it down in there, and you see as I push it down in there, it comes right on right away. It's got all your settings, and it's telling me the first thing it wants me to do is enter my tire diameter measurement on there. One thing to note before I put this back on, there is a really tiny rubber seal in here that aids in keeping this thing water resistant. Not very many things are actually waterproof. It is water resistant. I wouldn't necessarily submerge this, but it should help resist, you know, in a slight rain or whatever. It's not going to damage the product because of that water seal in there. So you want to make sure that seal's in there. It is a regular just slot in the back, so a Phillips head screwdriver will work, or anything, butter knife. I mean, I have a little plastic toy here just to tighten it on all the way, make sure it's securely. You use your key, you know, whatever. And as I said, it's asking me right initially what the my tire diameter is, and on my bike it's 28 by 2.1. I'm sorry, 1.75, which it tells me the circumference on the chart here is 2268. So I'm just going to enter that number into there. You just simply hit the set button. It'll move over to another spot, move it up a couple till I get to that number, and then move it over again. And then once you're all done, it goes on to the next setting. Now it's asking me, you know, for my whether I want kilometers per hour or meters per hour, and you're just going to select all your settings. I'm just going to kind of fast forward through these, as I will have to reset it up for my kids once I put it back on their bike. Once you get all your settings on there, your main screen should say scan on it. There are a lot of settings depending on what you look like. But when you get to your main screen, this is what it looks like. It says scan up on the top. It's got a nice green background so you can see everything. I know it might be a little tough to see on the camera. And once the backlight goes off, it does go off periodically to save power. But if you tap on either a mode or set, that light comes right back on again. Real simple. What you're going to want to do to fasten this to your bike, it comes with zip ties. The one that's curved like this will go onto your handlebar, and real simply, you're just going to take, it's got two little grooves on either side. As you see, it's got that little hook there, and this will sit right in there and wrap around your handlebar, and then you can zip tie it. I recommend keeping the zip tie the bigger part towards the backside, so that way it's not rubbing into your fingers or anything, getting in the way. So you're going to mount one on each side of this onto your handlebar, and then the reason for that is because then this piece is going to actually mount to it, so that way it's sitting on your bike like this, so it's facing you. So that way you can hit, you know, your set button or your mode to change your different menus and such like that to see your progress. And it does always, like I said, it goes to that dormant state where the light's not on, so your eyes aren't going to that instead of the road where they should be. You know, and then you can just periodically check, you know, as you're able to while you're driving when it's safe or whatnot. But real simple, that's how you're going to mount the actual computer part to your handlebar. The only other thing you need to know is how to mount the actual sensor and the actual magnet itself that will be read by the sensor. And this, again, with the zip ties, you'll see these two barrels here. It's just going to go around this, and it's going to go to, this one's going to go to the forks. You want to place it approximately 3/4 of the way from the center of your forks. The measurements on here, like I said, the instructions are a little difficult. There is a little bit of a learning curve. It says it's 60 what is it, 60 centimeters distance from the speedometer as shown in the picture, and then it shows a little picture representation, which when I look at that picture, it looks like it's about 75 to 80% away from the spokes for the whole circumference of the wheel. And you're just going to mount this, two of these, around your forks. You want to make sure the side here that says sensor is facing the interior of your spokes. So the battery housing area should be facing outward so that you can access it and change the battery if you need to when and if the battery dies. And again, this takes the same CR302 battery as the actual unit itself. And if you'll see on the front here, it does have a little arrow and it says sensor. So you want to try to utilize your magnet to line up most accurately or as close as possible to that little area. So that way, every time your wheel is spinning around, it's coming in contact with that front of this. so that way it's registering it. It does have a certain tolerance where it allows, it'll probably read over here, it'll read down here, but to get the most effectiveness, you want to make sure you have it lined up as close as possible. Even as I'm sitting here like this, I can see it's reading, trying to tell me, that it's doing stuff like I went 0.076, kilometers just for moving it this couple times. But now to mount your magnet on your spokes, you'll notice on the back side here you have a little hex nut, and then if I take that hex nut off, I have it finger tight right now. You're going to want to use a small wrench or a adjustable wrench or something like that to fasten that to make sure it's secure. As you see, look, it's just a standard screw. This part slips right over top of it. But the thing to note is, it's going to be difficult to show on camera. The inside of it has two little channels, and those channels are meant to rest on the spoke of one of your rims. So that way, that's where you're getting your adherence. It's going to get locked in place with that, and actually lock it onto the rim of your tire. The thing that's nice about this, it is a magnet, so when you put that nut on there, it's going to stay, and hopefully you're not going to drop it and be chasing it around. There's only one thing I could think of that would make this actual part of this device a little bit better, and that would have been if they made it so that it had a little bit of a cap that maybe went with this, so that way it locked over top of it, just on the off chance that this nut does come loose while you're driving. Because if this nut comes loose while you're driving and it falls off and you don't notice it, you're never going to find it. I don't see how you'd ever find this if it fell off while you were riding 20, 30 miles an hour down the road. So you do want to make sure that the nut is securely fastened on there. Maybe you can put a little thread lock on there to make sure that it doesn't come off while you're riding. But I mean, it is very secure. So I don't want you to think that it's just going to fall. You're going to put it on and it's going to fall off after 10 minutes riding. Once you tighten it on there, it should stay. But I'm one of those worriers. I worry you invest in something like this and you take it out for your first time to drive and the pieces are falling off. It shouldn't do that. But there are chances that if you don't get this tight enough, that you could risk losing it. And once this piece is lost, I don't know if you can get a replacement from the the website or even the manufacturer if they sell just these alone, or you'd have to get a whole new unit. I mean, so overall, I think this is a great product. It works well in my testing and example, but the learning curve is really, I found it difficult. It might have been because I'm not too familiar with this particular item, and that's the great thing about doing these reviews. I get to learn the opportunities of different products on the market, and I really did learn a lot about this, and it helped my kids out because they're curious about certain things like distance and stuff like that. Being younger, hey Dad, how far away is this? And now they can find that out for themselves. And they say, hey Dad, I rode 2.5 miles today, and it said I burned this amount of calories. That's awesome, isn't it? And I said, yeah, that's really great. So obviously I'm gonna have to hook this back up to my kids' bikes while we're taking advantage of this awesome weather we're having in this winter. I mean, my kids are still out riding their bikes, and it's just amazing. But after seeing this review, don't hesitate to check out the link in the description below. Check out for yourself. See if this product's right for you. It is a really good product. You have to take a minute to get to know your instructions and really fine-tune what you're looking for out of a device like this. Are you going to utilize all the functions of it, or are there just certain specifics that you're wanting to take advantage of on it? And like I said, it gives you so many different options that it makes it so it's very wide and varied for an assortment of people and exercise styles. So check out the link in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share, and thank you for stopping by again at Marksville and Me. Have a great day. Bye.